Yes, my name is Laura Lepore, a fourth-year student at the Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology, and my project is showing us that we can harness the sun's power for more than we're already using it for. We need the sun for, be it vitamin E, be it for plants and agriculture, but what if we can use it during the day and night? Introducing concentrated solar power. It's an emission-free, reliable method of generating electricity using nothing but sun rays. So concentrated solar power, those are its advantages. It was first established in Sant'Ilario, Italy in the year 1968. That's a brief background. Its installed capacity was 1 megawatt. And then other countries adopted it, like Morocco, USA, Spain, China, India, United Arab Emirates, just to mention a few. Also, coming to a case study, in Africa there is concentrated solar power. Morocco took the first initiative using its strategic geographical area. It's at the border of the Saharan desert, so you see it has more than enough sunlight to generate electricity using this technology. It's the first African country to generate 500 megawatts installed capacity, and by the year 2020 it's looking at 2 gigawatts. South Africa, where our esteemed delegates are from, Gauteng and Northern Cape Province, they also have a CSP plant there, and it started off at 50 megawatts. This year they want to hit the 200 megawatts. So you see, from 2016 to 2018, 50 to 200, that shows that CSP is flexible. If you want to expand the system, it does not take time. Now coming to Kenya, how it's applicable in Kenya. Areas where we receive most of the sunlight, because we are along the equator, we're along the sun belt. So areas like Garissa, Turkana, these are the most visible areas where such a technology would be applicable and would give maximum returns. In a household, around 500 households would use around 1 megawatt of electricity. So if we have an installed capacity of around 500 megawatts, we have the excess for the national grid. This is reliable electricity, and so it would also, it's cost effective, create employment in that area. It would increase industrialization, attract foreign investors, and at nighttime, when evaporation is at its least, can help irrigating agricultural projects in that place. Here is a short demonstration on the working principle of CSP.
Concentrated solar power uses thousands of mirrors to reflect and concentrate sunlight onto a central point to generate heat, which in turn is used to generate electricity. More than 10,000 tracking mirrors called heliostats reside in a 4 square mile field where they reflect and concentrate sunlight onto a large heat exchanger called a receiver that sits on top of a 550-foot tower. Within the receiver, fluid flows through the piping that forms the external walls. This fluid absorbs the heat from the concentrated sunlight. In this technology, the fluid utilized is molten salt, which is heated from 500 to over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Molten salt is an ideal heat capture medium because it maintains a wider operating temperature range in liquid state, allowing the system to operate at low pressure for superior and safe energy capture and storage. After passing through the receiver, the molten salt then flows down the piping inside the tower and then to a thermal storage tank where the energy is stored as high temperature molten salt until electricity is needed. This technology leverages liquid molten salt as both the energy collection and the storage mechanism, which allows it to separate energy collection from electricity generation. When electricity is required by the utility day or night, the high-temperature molten salt flows into the steam generator as water is piped in from the water storage tank to generate the steam. Once the hot salt is used to create steam, the cool molten salt is then piped back into the cold salt storage tank, where it will then flow back up the receiver to be reheated as the process continues. After the steam is used to drive the steam turbine, it is condensed back to water and returned to the water holding tank, where it will flow back into the steam generator when needed. The result is a high-quality, superheated steam to drive the standard steam turbine at maximum efficiency to generate reliable, non-intermittent electricity during peak demand hours. The steam generation process is identical to the process used in conventional gas, coal, or nuclear power plants, except that it is 100% renewable with zero harmful emissions or waste. These plants provide on-demand, reliable electricity from a renewable source, the sun, even after dark.
Which is called a receiver at the center of all those mirrors. So they reflect sun rays onto that receiver at a height of around 500 feet above sea level. These mirrors are also called heliostats, as we can see. So the receiver receives, as its name says, the sun rays, and so it becomes really hot. You can imagine all those rays concentrated on one central point. So the fluid inside, usually molten salt, will absorb that heat, and this is the advantage of molten salt. It can be heated from 500 to 1000 degrees Fahrenheit. It's ideal for heat capture, and all these other nations that I've mentioned use the same technology. So that's some of its advantages, maintaining that temperature for a long period of time, and it's also used for convenient energy capture and storage. Now, once the molten salt has been heated, it flows into a thermal storage tank that stores that heat energy for up to 10 to 16 hours. So it's stored at high temperature, a thermal heat storage tank, and so, yes, the molten salt is used for energy collection, heat energy, and storage, and also electricity generation, as we shall see. So the hot molten salt flows into a chamber, a steam generator, where we also have water flowing through, and so the hot molten salt heats the water to superheated steam. And once it's cooled, the salt that is, it flows into a cold storage tank, ready to be pumped up to the receiver once more for the cycle to begin again. And now the superheated steam is used to run a steam turbine, and once it runs the turbine, it flows into the condenser, is cooled, and returns back to the water storage tank to be used again for the cycle. Now the turbine is coupled to a convectional generator that can run at maximum efficiency to generate reliable electricity. So places like, to meet peak demand, oh sorry, I forgot to mention that. The steam generating process is equivalent to gas, coal, nuclear, all these fossil fuels methods that are used today. It's 100% renewable, zero harmful emissions, zero waste as well, and it can meet on-demand reliable electricity due to the thermal storage tank that we've mentioned earlier. So that is concentrated solar power using energy from a renewable source, the sun. Now, some technical aspects of that process that we just from seeing, one being the molten salt. It's readily available from such countries like America and those in the Middle East, France, also Canada. Unlike CSP heliostats, solar cells have material limitations. We can get our mirrors readily available, but our solar panels have to be, they take time. And then mirrors, there are three types, major types. There's the parabolic trough, there's the Fresnel, and the parabolic dish. The difference is in the shape, but in general, all they do is reflect sun rays onto a central point. And then a Stirling cycle engine is used as the conventional generator for electricity. It uses the principle of heating and cooling of a medium, which is usually air. And yeah, it's a closed loop system, so it guarantees zero carbon emissions. Why concentrated solar power? Why should we venture into such a technology? Well, the molten salt it remains hot enough to be used even to meet peak demand at nighttime, a challenge that solar PV has struggled to meet. Renewable, as no fuels are used or needed, no carbon emissions, The thermal storage aids in matching demand and supply, so it's very reliable. You can regulate the amount you want. Scalability to the 100 megawatt plus level, so you can just add units. And then it's also highly efficient. Now some bonus benefits. In Kenya, we do have renewable sources of energy like geothermal, we have wind, we have hydro. So I'm just saying, with CSP, we don't have to worry about hydrogen sulfide or greenhouse gas emissions. We don't have to worry about reliability like we worry about with wind power. The wind speeds fluctuate, the energy is not reliable. And it's clean, as toxic chemicals used in solar PV manufacture are not used in CSP. Also, limits number of components. Battery cells are very expensive, and CSP uses no batteries. And cobalt, which is a crucial component in the manufacture of lithium-ion battery cells, is not used. Cobalt mining in the DRC has led to DNA damage in children who live around the area of the mining of the cobalt mine. So it's a huge plus on healthcare. So the cost implications, nothing is for free, as we know. Yes, CSP is expensive. We have a 10 megawatt CSP complex would cost $1.71 per watt, but it would be sold cheaply at around 6 Kenya shillings as opposed to our current 23 to 12 Kenya shillings that we're experiencing today. So it is cheap and it is clean energy, a combination that's very hard to meet. So in short, concentrated solar power is the future of clean energy, not only in Kenya, but in the world at large. It would not only create jobs in rural areas, but it would also help in the agricultural sector, like pumping water to irrigate at night, and also increase employment, like we've said, and bring investors to the area. One more thing I have to emphasize on, it meets the peak demand hours at nighttime because of the thermal storage tank installed in it. So what greener, cleaner way is there to go, if not CSP, in achieving SDG number 7? So go clean, go green. Concentrated solar power is a public global good. Thank you.